All right, welcome, pal. We're live.
Are you sure we're live? Because my fucking screen just says off air all over the place. Oh, there it is, live. Now I feel. Now,
what a way to start the first YouTube
feel,
live.
Yeah, that's brutal. That's a tough open. That's a tough open. Oh, okay.
It's a cold open in the business. That's a cold open.
I don't know.
That's
I think that the kids call that a hot take in the street.
well, the good news is there's 0 viewers right now live for watching us. So no one's really paying attention. You know what I mean?
Good. Maybe they could just fast forward to the first incredibly obnoxious F-bomb that I dropped 5 seconds into our new podcast. Anyway, here's what we're doing. We're doing Google Hangouts here, Stallion. You're in one place, I'm in another place, and we're still getting content out for the all night long wrestling podcast because people are saying it's easier. YouTube's easier. It's easy to go YouTube live, and sure enough, it is, buddy. It is.
Well, it's something. It only took us maybe like 45 minutes. So, I mean, that's probably better than most times we've tried to attempt a new version of the podcast.
Yeah, is there any feedback on my end? Because I kind of feel like I sound like a douche.
No feedback here, buddy. Everything is coming through loud and clear.
All right, good. Well, listen, let's get right to it because inevitably this thing is going to crash, right? That's just how it at some point it's going to crash.
It's a matter of time, really. Yeah. So we may as well just dive right into it, like you said.
Let's get it right out of the way. We're going to start talking about Final Battle last night, Ring of Honor's Final Battle 2017, and then we're going to give our predictions for tomorrow night's Clash of a Champion on Channel 14 on pay-per-view. So let's start. We'll quickly go over Final Battle last night. I thought as a whole it started off hot, had some heat in the beginning, and I thought it fizzled out towards the end, pal. What do you think?
Yeah, I think after we watched it and then I read a couple of reviews when I got home and this morning, if you compare it to the recent Final Battles, we've gone to 2 out of the last 3 prior to last night. I just think that it didn't have as much buzz going in, and like you said, the overall like heat and intensity for a lot of the matches just wasn't there. I think, as in terms of comparing it to years past Final Battles. There were a couple of good matches. I know that it opened up with Taven and Ospreay. I thought the crowd was very into that. It was a good match. I thought that Jay Lethal and Marty Scurll probably had the best match on the show. But there was a couple of lackluster matches, or at least matches that maybe didn't live up to expectations. And I think, the Young Bucks weren't necessarily, they were in the semi-main event, but they weren't, I wouldn't say, in a highly featured match on the card, even though they were in the semi-main spot. So I think it was lacking a little bit of spark and a little bit of fire. So it wasn't a bad show, but I think it just was kind of missing something.
Yeah, I agree. I thought, like you said, it opened hot. It opened with Ospreay and Matt Taven. Ospreay came out, doing all kinds of dives, and that was, I think, honestly, the perfect way to get the show started. The crowd was hot. The crowd was fierce, and Will Ospreay seems to be their perennial opener. After that, I mean, War Machine versus Daniel Kazarian was a what do you think? A perfectly serviceable match? Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't a classic or anything. I thought they did some cool stuff in there, but I don't know. I guess the War Machine win. I don't really know where either of these teams goes. Although other than coming out later on in the show and messing up with the Young Bucks, right, and kind of maybe putting them into position for a 6-man tag title shot with Scorpio Sky. But other than that, I just don't know what the next step is for War Machine and where they would go from here.
Yeah, neither do I. Maybe WWE, who knows? I think, honestly, the worst match of the card was the TV title 4-man. And then that was a tipping point. Like, it was a pretty decent card up until then, but then that match really, it like deflated the entire crowd. I didn't enjoy that at all, which is, although, I mean, I'm glad Silas won. I think that's something you and I talked about beforehand. Silas Young was due for a singles title, but I think the way they went about it was pretty lackluster, to say the least.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I'm definitely glad that Silas won. He's been there for a few years now, and he probably deserves the opportunity. But yeah, the match itself was a little bit, yeah, it was a little bit disappointing, I guess. And Kenny King getting pinned like second out of the three eliminations that would occur. I mean, it's a bad thing. It's fine, but it was just a little bit weird. But I'm glad for Silas that he won. But yeah, it was a little bit lackluster. And of the Hung Bucks match, versus Flip Gordon, Dragon Lee, and Teton, I believe. What did you think of that one?
Uh, uh, Underwhelming is another word I would use. I hate to keep using it, but I mean, you expect. I for one, kind of, I was looking for like one of the like a 6-man PWG match. Like the Young Bucks had so many with Ray Phoenix and Horace and Ricochet and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think we got that in this match. It was a decent match. It wasn't the complete like spot fest that we're kind of used to in these 6-man tags. And I thought it was slightly above average, but I had higher expectations for it, so maybe I'm a little skewed.
No, that's how I felt about it also. I think the Young Bucks have set the bar so high for themselves with their performances and their matches, especially on pay-per-views, that not that this match was bad at all, because I thought it was solid, it was good, and there's a lot of high spots in it and things like that. But if you compare it to other Young Bucks matches on Ring of Honor pay-per-view or PWG or things like that, that it wasn't really at the same level or standard that we're used to seeing their matches, kind of go out with. So I agree. It was not really. My expectations were higher for it also, and it didn't really meet those. And I think that kind of goes into what you were saying about the second half of the show kind of being off a cliff in a sense, in that the TV title match wasn't really all that good, and this match was maybe not as good as people were hoping it would be. And then then you get to the main event, which was Cody and Dalton Castle, and I don't know. I mean, my expectations for it weren't that high. I don't know what yours were going into it, but I don't know. I wasn't really expecting a lot out of this match.
No, I think I've said it before myself. Like, I like Cody Rhodes, the character, but Cody Rhodes to me is not a strong enough professional wrestler to be able to carry these main events. Years past, Jay Briscoe, Jay Lethal, AJ Styles, Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole. These are the type of guys that main evented Final Battle, and they put on 20, 25-minute matches, and they were great matches. Cody Rhodes is not that kind of guy. No offense to Cody. He is more of a sports entertainment style professional wrestling outlook, I would say. He's definitely more the entertainer. He's not as there aren't as many layers to him as a wrestler in the ring that there are some of the other guys. And Dalton Castle, he's fine. I think he's a good wrestler, but neither one of these guys are going to blow you out of the water with a 5-star match. And I think that's kind of what you need at Final Battle. I mean, you look at the Final Battles of years past. I mean, you had Steen versus El Generico in the Fight Without Honor. You had Jay Briscoe versus Adam Cole. That was the champion versus champion match? Or was that? No, that was Lethal. Who was Lethal and Briscoe?
Lethal and Briscoe was Best in the World in 2015. That was the world title versus TV title match that we went to. I think the Briscoe versus Cole was Briscoe defending against Cole in 2014. 2015 was Lethal against AJ Styles, and then last year was Cole versus O'Reilly. So to your point, a lot of really good to really good workers, obviously, in those matches. And like you said, I do like Cody as well, but his character is more of like a 70s or 80s heel, from like a territorial heel, I guess. And again, Castle is a character that the fans seem to really be into. And not that he has bad matches, because they're good, but not going to get the 5-star classic or whatever you want to call it, I think, from these guys in the main event. And they didn't deliver a bad match, but it wasn't that either. It was kind of probably on par with what we were expecting. And the only thing I guess I would say that I wasn't expecting was a title change, which did happen at the end. So even with a new title belt, and there's also a new champion for ROH.
Yeah, I think at one point throughout the night, we looked at each other and we both kind of, it was before the main event started, and we both kind of had that feeling where Castle was going to win the title. And I mean, Marty Scurll losing to Jay Lethal was strange. You wonder where he's going to go from there as well. And I don't know. To me, Dalton Castle isn't strong enough to carry the Ring of Honor title. I don't know if Cody's character was as a wrestler. I don't know if he is. I mean, and before that, you had Jay Lethal had the title forever, and you had Jay Briscoe who had the title forever. So I would, it'll be interesting to see where I guess the next feud with Dalton Castle goes. But something we didn't talk about, we both kind of glazed over, was the Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer versus the Briscoes match. I was very, very let down by the match. I mean, how high of expectations can you have, really? I mean, the Briscoes did their part to as best they could, but it's no offense to Bully and Dreamer, but I mean, it's 2017. I mean, these guys, I just don't know if they should be featured in a match like that on pay-per-view. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think that, these guys, and, listen, we've been watching, Bully Ray, Bubba Ray, and Tommy Dreamer for over 20 years now, right? Probably with and WWE and TNA and now ROH, and it just seems like these, I don't know what you would call it, right? Like these
novelty acts.
Yeah, like the ECW legend, I guess, type act. Like they've kind of run angles with some of these in different forms with performers from ECW in every promotion, like multiple times. I know TNA has done it more than once. WWE has run it more than once. And now Ring of Honor is kind of doing it with these guys. And it's built around the fact that the event was held in Hammerstein Ballroom, and those guys have performed there a lot. And the angle played out in the ECW arena, right? Like where I think Mark Briscoe officially turned heel, and they brought Dreamer out with Velvet Sky and all that stuff. So the build to it, I thought, was pretty good. I think you had remarked while we were watching it that, like as they were playing their video to lead into the match, that, the build was pretty good, and the fans seemed like they were into it. And I thought they did a good job with that. But then when you get to the match, it's just kind of the same stuff that you've seen from Bully Ray and these guys for years, right? He enters in through the crowd. They do the spots with the tables and the cheese grater and kendo sticks and whatever else is that they do. And I mean, it was a brawl. I think they could have gone a little bit further with it. Some of the action of
a flaming table spot did not deliver.
Yeah, they didn't do the flaming table spot, even though they were kind of setting up for it. And then anybody for it, but whatever happened at the final spot where the Briscoes were going to give Bully Ray a 3D, and he threw a table, and I don't know, whatever. It didn't really go right, and the table didn't break, so they had to improvise the finish at the end. So, it was what it was. I guess the one good thing coming out of it is that the Briscoes won. I would have been kind of a bummer if they lost the match because, like you mentioned yesterday as well, that their heel turn, I think, has made them much more interesting than they were. Not that they were bad before, but I think that they're much more interesting now as a team and a heel act. So I think they can go a lot of places with that, and I'm glad that they got the win. But yeah, again, it was another match where it was kind of mediocre, I guess. And from here, I don't know if they're going to do anything further with Bully Ray, or if it's just going to be, but hopefully the Briscoes can get in contention for the tag titles, because I feel like they should probably have them right now.
Yeah, I think the Briscoes versus the Motor City is probably for me, that's where the money is. Or if you want, have Jay go back to the title against Dalton Castle. I think that's another option. But get those guys near the tag titles, because I think right now they're the best workers they have.
Yeah, I think that would be a smart move on Ring of Honor's part to do that, because there's an overall, like you said, with the world title and the level and the quality of matches. You would want that, I think, if you're Ring of Honor with all your championships. So to putting the tag titles on the Briscoes is probably the best move for that division, and then improving the work rate, like match in and match out for all the title defenses. I think that would be the wisest move.
And you know what you could do at some point? I would like to see Mark get a singles title, probably closer to the TV title. But I mean, if somebody who's been in Ring of Honor as long as he has, I think he needs to get his just due as well. And I would like to see him have a concentrated effort to get in a program for the TV title at some point.
Yeah, I know they put him in, like they gave him title shots here and there, but they never pull the trigger on a victory for him. And he's been around long enough, I think, where you could build him into something and have him take a run with that title for a little while if they wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, have him turn completely bad